language areas in brain. So we are studying psycholinguistics. So now let's look at which are the areas responsible for language production in our brain. So a number of discoveries have been made about the specific parts in the brain that are related to language functions. So scientists, the researcher have been working on this aspect that they could find that which area in the brain is responsible for speech or production and obviously for understanding speech. So in this regard, they have found that the most important part as to the language is concerned are in the area above the left ear. So the left side of the brain is responsible for speaking as well as for listening. So they have, after many discoveries, reached this conclusion. So if we want to further investigate it, we can look at more closely at some of the gray matter. So we can take a head, we can remove hairs, scalp, skull, and this connect the brain stem, the stem that is connecting the brain with the spinal cord, and cut the corpus callosum, connected it the callosum that connects the brain, two parts of the brain. So we'll find that our brain has two parts, left hemisphere and right hemisphere. So you can think of it having two parts, in which left part is left hemisphere and right part is right hemisphere. So you can look at this figure. So this is the left hemisphere. So it has two spotted areas. One is Broca area and one is Wernicke's area. So actually these two areas are responsible for making speech and for listening, or they are responsible for language. So if they are responsible for language, it means that if this part is affected, the person will have problem in producing language and in understanding language. So the shaded areas in the illustration indicate the general locations of those language functions involved in speaking and listening. So you have seen that we have two areas in the brain, and they are in the left hemisphere, right above the left ear. So we have come to know that these areas exist largely through the examination in autopsies. I mean, during the post-mortem, the surgeons have found this, that these areas are responsible. How they have found? Because when they made the autopsies of the brains of people, especially people who in life were known to have specific language disabilities. They were not normal people. If had they been non-normal people, it would have been difficult because the brain would have been the same. So they have learned with many discoveries, as we said in the earlier, that they have found it after many discoveries and during the autopsies, postmortems, and especially of those people about whom it was known that they had speech problems in their lives. So we have tried to determine where language abilities for normal user must be by finding areas with specific damage in the brains of people who had identifiable language disabilities. So by looking into the brains of the people with disabilities, speech disabilities, we've been able to find that these are the areas which are actually responsible for speaking and listening. So this is how we have come to know about the language areas in our brain.